Hello and welcome to another garden tour. It is a beautiful sunny hot morning. The birds are singing and here are the roses. So we're starting off with Masquerade. As you can see, it starts off like that and changes to that over time. And this is a prolific bloomer for me. Move on, this is the Fairy White, a lovely polyanther rose, and then this is Blue for You, and some fresh blooms down there. As you can see, it's much darker and then it sort of fades to this slate blue colour. Here is my Foxglove, getting taller. Very beautiful blooms. A pink Floribunda, unfortunately I don't know the name to that one. Still a lovely rose. This is Baroness Rothschild, a hybrid perpetual. Very large blooms, as you can see. One of my favourites to look at. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have any fragrance at all, which is such a shame. And then move on to Susan's Williams-Ellis. Lots of blooms on here, and it just goes on. Here is my Rescue Climbing Rose. I managed to take quite a lot of these this week as cut flowers, and they start off like this and then they open to this. This one is very fragrant and it's one of my favourites. This is Best Wishes, another one of my favourites, as it has this variegated foliage, as you can see. And come around to this part of the garden. My granny's bonnets are still in bloom, as you can see. The bees doing their work. And here I have my bearded irises, which are pretty much at their end, but these ones are still blooming quite well. And I have the first Delphinium, as you can see, in bloom. And I have many more coming, as you can see over there. And they're all a mixed variety that I've grown from seed. And you come around here and I have a wonky lupin. This one is more upright, as you can see. But I only seem to have the one that's come back this year, unfortunately. But it's still beautiful. This is Buff Beauty, a gorgeous hybrid musk rose. And sort of coming through underneath, this is Lady Hillingdon. I have two of these. I have one against the house and one out here which acts more like a shrub rose. Next we have Paul's Scarlet. A lovely red rose there. Not much fragrance, unfortunately. And I come round here, and this is a Schoolgirl, a climbing rose, as you can see. Coppery blooms. And this is another rose of mine. Unfortunately, I don't know what it's called, but it smells like aniseed. So it's very fragrant. I don't know what it's called whatsoever because I had it in a collection, and in these collections they just state that they're shrub roses and that's it. So that's what it looks like when it opens up completely. If you look at it when it first opens, that's what it looks like. I have poppies there, which I'll take you around to see in a minute. Here I have some Dutch iris. I've had these for quite a few years now, and they just seem to be in these yellow and white shades. And here we have golden showers. This is a Clyman rose. This one's also very fragrant. Beautiful lemon blooms. And if you look at the sun, the way it bounces off it, it's really lovely. Now the peonies are just starting to open. As you can see, I've got loads of blooms coming. And then we move on to this. This is young Lycidas, a David Austin rose, very fragrant. Huge blooms, as you can see, almost as big as my hand. Oh, and there's another one here, which is huge. Next we have, I believe this is just Joey, as that's what it was sold to me as. It has these huge blooms, as you can see. This is one of my favourite roses, and it is very, very fragrant. I don't know if you can see with the sun on it at the moment, but it is lovely. And then we move next. And this one is Grace. This is another David Austin rose. It stays quite short for me. It just sort of spreads out. But as you can see, more GMs coming up there. As you can see, beautiful blooms. And this is very fragrant. It smells like tea. This is Ballerina, which is just starting to open. It has loads of blooms, as you can see. And then we move on to Tuscany Superb. This is an old Gallica rose, but it's still one of my favourites, very fragrant. And above it we have Reines de Violets, which is still in bloom. Another very beautiful fragrant hybrid perpetual rose there. And if we just move along, we have Gruss and Aachen. Lots of beautiful blooms here. And they're very large for such a small shrub. As you can see, oh, and this one's just starting to open. Beautiful. And over here we have Rosa Mundi, which is a very old Gallica rose now. These beautiful blooms, as you can see. This is a patio rose. I think it's called Little Sunset. It's just opening. Quite similar to Masquerade. And here we have the Countryman, which is another David Austin rose. Very fragrant. Kind of reminds me of Sherbet. As you can see, these beautiful blooms. Here we have the Country Parson, which is in bloom again. This is quite a prolific bloomer for me, so it's obviously a good doer. And another fragrant rose. They fade almost to white, but they still retain a little bit of lemon. They look their best when they first open, I think. Here we have Munstead wood. Another David Austin rose, extremely fragrant. I can smell it across the garden. This is one of my favourites. And the blooms are huge. The bloom on this, as an example, it's almost as big as my hand. And here are the Oriental poppies. Now the blooms on these are huge. To give you a comparison, that's how big they are. This is one of my favourite flowers. It comes back every year with these beautiful tissue paper blooms. I just like how the sunlight hits them. And of course I've still got the Silene next to it, which seem to be doing very well. And then I look back then towards, this is Grace. Here are some more Dutch iris. This is a lovely blue one that I have. Unfortunately the slugs seem to have got to these, but I still love them. This is Jacqueline Du Pre, a lovely shrub rose. In this part of the garden again, we're Lady Hillingdoners. I just wanted to show you my Variegated Sedum. I just love looking at the foliage on this one. So if you just look up, this is Lady Hillingdon. Like I said, this is an extremely fragrant rose. With these lovely peachy blooms. This is Lover's Meeting. A hybrid tea. It's completely open now. But this has lovely fragrant blooms as well. And then I just wanted to show you what my Delphinium looks like, with the iris in the backdrop. Here is an update with the sport on the fairy. Like I said, this is the same plant, and then we have this, which I'll take a cutting from. This is Pretty Jessica, another David Austin rose, very fragrant. I do love this one. This is a double découvert, I believe. Lovely fragrant blooms. And this is Double Delight. Gorgeous blooms, very fragrant and very healthy. And each bloom is different, as you can see. And this is Strawberry Hill. This is another David Austin rose, but this is a climber. This is highly fragrant. Gorgeous blooms. Fortunately, they do tend to droop more in the sun. I had to move this because the blooms were getting fried where they last were. And I like how it sort of starts opening. And here is some more Sweet Williams. This one is my favourite. And this is New Dawn, which is a beautiful climbing rose, which is just starting to open. You can see they sort of fade to more white in the sun, but it's beautiful. And then the Viburnum is still in bloom, but just starting to go over now. And I've taken some cuttings of it, so I hope to have some more. This is the Geranium Mollis, which is just taken over everywhere. As you can see, this is a white version of it with a blue hidden in there. It's a climbing rose from the other side. So they look like when they open. It has an awful lot of tea in its look to me, if you get me, where the petals sort of have that jagged effect. This is my Euphorbia, which is now in bloom, if you could call it that. It has these most unusual little bracts to them. And some more Aquilegias. And this is Handel, a beautiful climbing rose. And it's actually one of the parents of the Eden rose, would you believe? And this is what it looks like when it opens some more. Isn't that beautiful? I do detect a mild scent. Maybe in the sunshine it's more powerful. Yeah, very mild. This is Honorine de Brabant. This is a Bourbon rose. Very, very beautiful blooms. And it has what I call this variegated look to it. And this is very fragrant. The Sweet Williams are now in full bloom. These are beautiful. Ideal for cut flowers. And this acts like as a perennial for me, as it comes back every year. The baby rose looking completely different, as if all the petals are sort of separating from each other. It's very unusual. But I actually really like that. I like the fact that it's so unusual. This is Sweet Jessica, one of my new roses. Very fragrant. Beautiful peachy orange flowers. Here is one of my new roses. This is La Menthe. Opening up now. That's what it looks like. Just opening. It's a sort of peachy pink, I think. Looking at it, it does show up on camera quite well. Here is Dusky Maiden. Shows more red on camera than it is. It's more a deep burgundy colour. Definitely one of my favourites, this. Mutabilis back in flower again. I do really love this one. Lorraine Victoria, looking beautiful. Have quite a lot of buds. I like how it first starts to open. Can you see? I've still got this in a pot at the moment because I'm still letting the root system establish. But I'm just going to part it up into a bigger pot than this. But I do really love this rose, and it is very, very fragrant. This is Cornelia. This is a hybrid musk rose. Very fragrant. And I like how it sort of just nods. The blooms, I suppose they're about 3 inches across. Still very beautiful. Here is Storyteller. That's as it just opens, and this is it completely open. I really love this one. It's very, very fragrant. Definitely one of my favourites. Here is Louisa Diaz, still in bloom, and still many more to come. A very, very beautiful, fragrant Bourbon rose. This is definitely my favourite flower. It is so fun to show you my peony. Huge blooms, as you can see if you compare my hand to it. Very beautiful. Here is some more Alisa, Princess of Phoenicia, looking very beautiful. This is my hybrid, Cane Win. As you can see, completely different to the last bloom. It's what is showing what I think it would be, but it has this really weird centre. And I noticed that on some of the other roses I have, they have these weird centres, and I can't quite fathom why they do, but this is very fragrant. I don't think this one will have it, but as you can see, beautiful pink blooms. Very happy with this one. This is Rosa Laxa. It is a wild rose and is used for understock mainly here in the UK. But I have it here. A couple of my roses didn't make it, so I just kept it because I thought it was quite a nice rose. So thank you for watching another one of my videos. I will leave you with Baroness Rothschild, looking beautiful. Please subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll catch you again soon. Bye bye.